Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. This is part 2 of the psionic and psychotronic attacks that are going on to people. These electronic and what are considered subtle energy weapons, often called psychotronic devices. People have been targeted by these for many, many years. Could be as far back as 50, 60 years. In many ways. It seems to be a common problem now with tens of thousands of people experiencing these traumatic symptoms. Now, one aspect of taking care of yourself and finding solutions, things that I specialize in, not negativity, I give you ways to change your life and to stop these attacks, not just to inform you they're going on. Because I am connected. I know what's going on higher levels, unlike those people who are chicken littles. The sky is falling, David Icke and others. So the whole idea is that you don't have answers, you're hollow, you're worthless, and I don't even believe these people are the good guys. Now, what you have to understand is the biological triggers to this. Now, there are parasitical nature of these things. The beams and energies they're actually throwing at you either create, amplify, or generate within your being nasty bacterias and create what is considered parasites and viruses. This is how it works. And of course, these are the most unstoppable and brilliant energy forms out there. Viruses have never been able to be stopped, so they tell you. So creating these within you and having you generate all these problems yourself and have a living parasitical virus farm in you is certainly a way that will affect you. These viruses also have the interesting effect of going directly into your bloodstream, which goes where? Right into your brain. So it's a very sneaky way of doing things, and it's a sneaky way of having things getting worse. And they also work as a particular trigger. One of the things you need to start off with is to use anti-parasites. Now, anti-parasite herbals are very common because people have lots of parasites. And you can find these tinctures at any good health food store. They'll have some sort of parasite formula. You can also find these on eBay and pretty much any other place, Amazon, etc. Just put in parasite cleanse, because generally it's a cleanse. Now, parasite cleanses usually pertain or include 3 major components that you should have in your parasite cleanse, and that is an herb called wormwood, black walnut, and clove. These are very powerful parasite killers. And be very careful and check with your doctor if you have any questions here. These are food supplements, but herbs are very powerful. And if you detox too quickly, it could make you very ill. You generally want to take things slowly. Keep your dosages very low and see what happens. There is programmed into these psychotronic attacks that if you start doing good things to assist you and use things to get rid of their toxins, that you will be hit harder for a period of time. So do take this in mind and understand that if you take things like this and don't feel too good, well, probably it's working. On the other hand, you don't drink bottles of this stuff. These items have to be taken carefully because they are very strong. If you have any questions, if you're taking other medications, make sure you consult a medical professional and get the information there. Talk to an herb specialist, talk to your doctor, etc. I'm giving you general information here. You are not general, though. You have a specific body and have to move slowly. The problem with everybody is they think more is better. This is not true, especially with strong anti-parasiticals. There are other antivirals. One of them is called SEAC. This is an herbal combination that was often used for cancers, but is great antiviral and cleansing in general. Echinacea. Echinacea, of course, is a very well-known antiviral, generally good cleansing herb. Again, both of these can be gotten just about anywhere. So these are things you should take as well. This will again kick out a lot of virals. The other ones will kick out parasites. And of course, it's sneaky to get things in your bloodstream because guess where it goes? Right into your brain. And this is where people have problems. So if you're going to take anything, as I said, be careful. And if you're combining it with other drugs and so forth, be very careful. And of course, consult somebody about that. So now there are other areas that affect you as well. Now you must remember that there's a lot of biological problems that all of these attacks create. And by creating them, it makes you into this very manipulative, weak energy field. So they break down your auras, your etheric energy bodies, so that they can enter with these weapons much easier to control you and get greater devastating effects. So there's a lot of biological things going on here, and you can resist these attacks and build your energy fields back up so that these attacks lessen dramatically. And ultimately, with a combination of tools, you should be able to stop 95% of the attacks where they will not upset you past a very basic level. But you have to look at your environment of what's happening. So, getting back to the biological, there's another thing, monosodium glutamate. This is something that some people drives them crazy and makes them horribly sick. These were common in Chinese restaurants as additives they used as food enhancers. It was actually discovered by the Japanese in World War II to make their canned military foods taste better. While this is a simple little molecule, it causes devastating effects on some people. So get it out of your diet. You also need to clean your diet up in general. If you're drinking any kind of diet sodas, any artificial sweeteners, and there's many of them, aspartame, of course, is the biggest one lately. I think there's sucrose, whatever they call it. There's so many of these things, those little pink packages that you see in restaurants. All this stuff is artificial sweeteners, and they are nerve toxins. And a lot of people have reported horrible experiences with them, similar to a lot of these attacks. They can really mess you up. So you've got to watch what's in your foods and make sure that you are not, they're loaded in lots of foods, but anything that has, quote, 0 calories is artificially sweetened, and these are really bad for you. Get off of it. This will make your attacks horrible. Same thing with monosodium glutamate, which is in a lot of processed foods. You don't really find it much in Chinese restaurants because the public doesn't want them, but you have to be careful with that. So these can bring on a serious attack. Other things that have noted in these areas, things like food colorings. And these are generally listed because they have to as an additive, but these cause a lot of problems with people. Food colorings, preservatives. These are all things that can trigger or make these attacks work. So try and eat, at the very least, a pure diet. You want to eliminate as many additives as you possibly can, and don't even pass by diet drinks or anything that has artificial sweeteners in it. So stay away from that. Very, very important. There are more complaints on aspartame than any other substance to the FDA. And if people are taking the time to do that, it means there's all sorts of problems there. Now, eating a pure diet's always a good idea. Try and get all the chemicals out of your system that you can by eating pure. And if you look at the labels carefully, you can buy things that have no additives or very few. So this is something to look at. Another thing is to cut down on meats. Meats and dairy products are loaded with chemicals and death energies. Meat can trigger these attacks because they are simpatico. They are trying to kill you, and the animal has death in it. It's a horrible thing. We need to get away from massacring animals when we don't need their proteins. There are many excellent natural proteins, much better than eating flesh. Things like chia seeds, linseeds, beans in general. There's a whole bunch of vegetables that have high contacts of protein in them if that's what you're seeking. You don't need to eat flesh, and it's very bad for people under attack. There are fantastic meat substitutes available in your market that give you a meaty type flavor without all the junk in it. So do that. And if you're going to eat any kind of cheeses, make sure you eat goat cheese and sheep cheese. Stay away from cow's cheese. But try and eliminate that. And there are even soy cheeses that are very good. The alternative products today are really wonderful, and you should be able to fill in and not miss some of those toxic flavors that you've been accustomed to. You're all accustomed to eating sugars and fats and salt, and this is a learned taste. When you get off of these things and you go back, if you're off of salt for a while and you go back and eat a potato chip, oh, it's disgusting. Of how much salt is in there. And it just shows you the kind of horrible conditioned diets you're in. So stay away from that and stay away from as many animal products as you can. There are substitutes that taste great now. Use them. Get away from that. You are a new person now, and you have to care about the reality and suffering of others, and that includes animals who are slaughtered by the billions every year for no reason and are fed garbage, toxins injected with chemicals. It just goes on and on. So you want to get off of that and get out of that complete reality of death and suffering. Now, there are other things in your environment as well. Now, you should make sure that you are, as I said, living on a pure diet. You're drinking pure products, particularly waters. All of this stuff is important for you to have. You can actually, I don't believe in a lot of these fancy waters that cost a fortune. Get yourself a distiller and distill your water, and then make things like black teas, coffee, and of course the best are fruit teas. And we're talking about pure fruit teas. So these are great to use. There's nothing wrong with regular black tea. You should try and use organic or pure types. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. There's a little caffeine in it. Ooh, nothing wrong with caffeine. It's like everything in life. It's the quantity of the caffeine that you're taking. You know, drinking 8 cups of coffee a day ain't good for you. So, but hey, I love a good cup of coffee and drink at least a cup a day. It's not a problem. And I drink iced teas, and I drink a lot of fruit teas. It's a great way to get little extra vitamins, particularly C and a few other ones, and they taste wonderful and get you off of all the sodary garbage, which is just loaded with crap. So watch that. So you don't have to drink water, and I don't know why people drink water anyway, and this whole fantasy that you have to be constantly drinking was started in the 80s by, of course, guess who? Perrier. And of course, they bought a bunch of doctor whores to tell you you've got to drink all the time. It's ridiculous. Your pure water comes from foods. A chicken breast has almost a cup of water in it. So they're loaded with foods, and that's where you get your pure drinks from. But if you want to drink other things, drink those. It's not a problem. And of course, organic is always the way to go, even though it tends to be expensive. But, you know, the new reality is to spend more and eat less. You probably don't need about 70% of the food you're eating, you don't need. It's a habit. You're told to do this by corporations. Breakfast wasn't even a meal that was eaten in most of reality until the last 60 years. So most people didn't eat breakfast. They had a larger meal at lunch, and that was pretty much it. All these other things are conditioned. You have to eat every 4 hours? Why? Actually, it's horrible for your system and floods your system with constant sugars, which you don't need, because everything breaks down into a sugar. So the whole idea is you need to fully understand that. So clean up your diet, take your herbals, and make sure that as you're flushing your body out with these things that, of course, at those times, it's always good to drink a little extra liquids. And that can be anything. And remember, fruit juices, best if you find pure ones. A lot of these fruit juices have huge amounts of added sugar in it, which is just an assault to your body. We eat way too much sugar, and that's why everybody's becoming diabetic. But they're becoming diabetic because of the toxins in society now, because your kidneys and liver are very toxic, and it's creating diabetes. So everybody needs to watch that. And so very important. But if you get on a pure diet, because it's pandemic, kidney and liver disease is pandemic now. People don't talk about it, but where's all the crap going through? Well, it goes through your kidneys and liver, so we have a huge amount of problems there. How do you stop that? Well, get the crap out of your system. Do cut down on the use of any kind of artificial ingredients which your body doesn't like. And it's as simple as that. So having a pure diet, modifying everything, getting off animal products is all part of this process of cleaning yourself up both spiritually and physically, which is very important. And there are many other things you should be taking and taking care of yourself as well. You should be learning and performing what's called reflexology on your major organs, particularly your kidneys and liver. This is basically pressing areas on your feet with your hands, and this will stimulate energy going to that organ. It's 100% free. You can find reflexology online for free. You can get books, use books very inexpensively, and just do this daily. You want to clean your organs out, and there are things for the brain, for the heart. Stimulating these things and keeping a high energy going to your major organs is important for your protection. Got to remember, this is not a mental thing only. Everything is synergistic. It all comes together in a giant stew, and you can't just do one thing. If you have a strong physical body, this will actually create powerful etheric energy fields that will protect you. And this is one thing that all people in this field, if there is anybody, but generally when people are under psychic attack, one of the ways that they have found to help most people is exercise. So exercise builds a strong chakra system, it builds a strong energy body, and it pumps lots of blood all around your body, cleansing your brain and other areas and getting these toxins out of you. So it's very important that you're exercising. Exercising can be in many, many ways. So the simplest is just walking, and you have to really walk vigorously. This isn't a stroll. One of the best things you could possibly get is a rowing machine, and you can get some of these inexpensively to row, or a small treadmill. You gotta, you may be in a place where it's either too hot or too cold. You got to do this all the time. You got to build those energies up, so you should be exercising. If you're sitting there saying how sick and terrible I feel, well, it's never going to change. When you exercise, the blood pumping, you feel better. Yet it is difficult. But you got to remember, the parasites are telling you everything I've just told you, the parasites will tell you is wrong, and don't do it. So the whole idea is that which is very important, that you exercise. It's important that you learn centering. I have an entire course on centering, and it's very important that you do mind gym exercises. Both of these you need. If you don't control your brain, someone else will. And they already are if you're under attack. Now, you can fight this, and you have to discipline yourself with, it's called centering. It's a high stage of consciousness similar to meditation. And you have to learn to build your psychic empowerment. You have to pump psychic iron. You have to build psychic muscle. It's important because this stimulates your chakras and your energetic protection fields, your etheric bodies around you. So you must do these things. Those items are available on our website. Go to the About page here, and you'll find our address and email if you have further questions. This is essential, though, in terms of if you want to stop these. This is going to take a momentous effort on your part, and you need to participate. Most of this, nobody can help you with. You have to do yourself, unfortunately. The problem with sick people is they can't really help themselves because they're so depressed and down. It's one of the problems to tell a sick person to heal themselves. Well, isn't that kind of ridiculous? But You have to in areas like this. So if you can find somebody who helps you, who's supportive, well, more the better. Those interested in more support can contact me, and we can set up a page on our website where people having the same problem can get together and compile information. We have many, and these would be an internal page that only access would be granted to the people that we want to go in there. And this could be a free page set up. Again, if you're interested, make sure you contact us at our email. So, keeping this all in mind is very critical. So you have all these health aspects that you have to take care of. That's part of it. Now, another horrible thing in our society of this today, which causes all sorts of mental problems, is microwave and electromagnetic fields. Now, one of the biggest problems is, guess what, people? You're living in a giant, horrible electromagnetic frequency soup. Your routers, Wi-Fi, you're getting hit with all sorts of stuff. We now have 5G coming on. All of these things are going to make your condition horrible, and you need to protect yourself. Now, we have special large anti-frequency plates that you stick in your house, which are very effective. And I have them in a couple of rooms, and these have been researched from Eastern Europeans who kind of have an expertise in this area because they've been shooting people with nasty rays for a long time. So you can put one of these in your house because your router, your telephone, everything is wireless now. And the problem with wireless means that these signals are going all the time, 24/7. This may be a big part of why these attacks become so strong. You are very sensitive to these energies. Maybe they've beaten you down. Maybe they've opened you up. So the routers and so forth, which are sending out frequencies 24/7, are very toxic. The worst thing you can possibly do is use a cell phone, putting it up to your ear. Never ever do that. Make sure you're using your the button where you have a hands-free. Lay the phone down in front of you, or at least a foot, probably 2 feet from you, that you hold it and speak it that way. Never put it up to your ear. Don't wear head attachments because the energy goes from the phone into your head that way. It doesn't help if you use like a headphone. So you want to use the microphone button there where you can talk hands-free. Every phone has this. You just click the little, I don't know what they call that, speaker button, whatever. And what happens is that you can speak like the person was sitting in front of you. And that's what you ought to do. And what I usually do is I put my phone down on my desk and I'm at least about 2 feet from it and speak normally as if that person was in front of me. You must do this. Cell phones are mind-screwingly bad for you. If you use a cell phone a lot, pressing it near your head, well, kiss your ass goodbye. It's just horrible. Cell phones are toxic sewers. They've been proven to be terrible microwave devices. The Swedish have researched this for 20 years and nothing but negativity comes back from it. Everybody I know that has energetically checked cell phones they're terrible disruptors. So what you want to do is minimize this disruption. First of all, don't talk a long time, and when you do talk, don't hold the phone. Don't keep your phone on you in a pocket. These are all bad. The other thing is even putting it in a backpack or a bag that you carry with you is still bad. So this is all a problem. It would be a good idea that you get one of these shielding pouches that you put your phone in. You can find these on eBay, and they're a little pouch that you stick the phone in so that your phone cannot be hijacked or discovered, and it protects you from the energy coming from the phone. There are many different devices you can attach to your phone, little things that glue onto your phone that make them less toxic. I'm not sure how well any of these work, but every little bit helps. We offer some from our Tachyon manufacturer, which seems pretty good. There are ones that nobody likes, which are the best, which actually have a shielding device, which you put your phone in, and then use that. But these kind of bulky, people don't like them. So at this time, we'd recommend people get the tachyon ones, and we're probably going to be offering other ones on our website, so do watch for those. This is very critical that you are extremely careful with your actual cell phone, how you use it. The other things which people have found have caused disturbances, people have seen images, feel terrible, is an electromagnetic devices in general. There was a case of a little girl having all sorts of disturbances at night. She couldn't sleep and started to see ghosts and other things. Well, what happened to solve this problem, which sounds absurd, was the fact that her clock radio was then unplugged and taken out of the room. Everything stopped. Well, isn't that fascinating? Well, hundreds of millions of people have a radio near their bed, an electric clock, etc., who don't have problems. But here's someone who's sensitive. Does that sound familiar? You're one of those. That if you have electrical devices around you, such as this, particularly when sleeping, that these should not be in the room, or you need to unplug them. Same thing with phones and everything else. They should not be in the room, or they should be off. So any electrical devices that are near you, something as inane as a clock radio or even an electric clock, you should unplug these and not have them active, particularly when you are sleeping. You may want to unplug your router in your house as well. This is a good idea in general because anything can come through there. It's constantly broadcasting. So what you want to do is to protect yourself in all these areas. Especially you are sensitive, you are special, you have to do things that other people don't notice or don't have problems with. So this is a very important area of protection when it comes to your life in general, and that means any electronic fields that are around. As you said, we're living in these, and if people are using phones a lot, if you're putting it to your ear, these are all giant, horrible no-nos. You can't do it. Now, everybody is living on their phone now, unfortunately. So it's now up to almost 85% of people going on the net are doing it with a phone. And it's increasing. It probably will get to the point where 95% of all internet and computer work will be done on people's phones. So this is something that a lot of people live with and they're constantly using. Well, if you're having problems, you have to be aware of this. And you can't leave phones on in your pockets and bags. All this is terrible for you. There should be times when you turn your phone on, and when you have your phone on, it should be, as I said, a minimum distance from you of about 2 feet. And if you're having problems or you're under attacks, make sure your phone is off. It's just horrible for you. So this is a very important aspect. So if you take these basic physical, and we'll have many more things that you can actually do. There's a lot of things you can actually do to start countering these things and building a strong environment so these weapons, when they are used on you, do not have strong effects. And ultimately, if you do everything, they should have minimal to absolutely no effects. Another thing that's very important to do is fill your environment with positive energy. Now, what is positive frequencies? Well, there's a lot of them, but there is one major Earth frequency that the atmosphere creates that has been shown to be extremely powerful in achieving high states of protection and high states of manifesting, and that is the Schumann resonance, which is approximately 7.8 to 8 hertz. Now, this is very, very positive, and people that are denied access to this energy tend to get very sick. This happens to the astronauts, and when they come back, they put them in an 8 hertz field to readjust them and make them feel better once they come back to Earth. It's thought that they probably have 8 hertz generators now in most of the spacecrafts and the space stations. So that people are balanced with the Earth frequencies. You're an Earth being. That's what you're part of. Now, we offer very amplified and special 8 hertz generators. Again, people should go to our website and check that out. These you should have in almost every room. You need to be pumping these positive balancing energies into your environment. What happens is when they use these weapons of terror on you and project it at you, whether it's psychotronically or electronically, they enter your environment. but your environment now will be producing all these positive energies. So it will, in many cases, nullify the energies, depending on how strong they are, but it will weaken them. And again, we're all about making things weaker and weaker. Make it weaker here, make it weaker there. Pretty soon you have something that doesn't affect you at all. So 8 hertz is a very key energy to have in your actual house. And as I said, we have plug-in models that are hyped up with tachyons and other energies so that they produce a much stronger than your typical 8 hertz little generator that you get and plug in. There are 8 hertz generators that you can find online that are portable, that you put a battery in. It would be advisable, we don't sell these, that you get one of these. You can find these for around $100, I believe. If you need help, let me know and I can steer you towards places, or we may consider carrying these. But carrying these with you, having an 8 hertz field around you all the time, is another very positive thing to do and a way to protect yourself. This will, as I said, tend to buffer the energies coming at you and reduce their impact on you. And again, it's very passive. You plug these in, you have them in your home, you leave them on 24/7, and of course when you go out, you carry it with you. So these are tools that you should have with you all the time and be functioning at a high level with them, as well as the other things that I've mentioned to you. So there are many things you can do here, and because every attack is individual and you are individual, there is no one thing or one device at this time that you just get and stop the attacks. Well, we hope to get to that level at some time, but these are very tricky and very advanced technologies, and you're going against hundreds of millions of dollars of research that these people are experts in all this stuff, and right at this particular point we are trying to figure out, well, how can we counter this and stop the energies? Well, all of what I've just given you are ways of countering it. Each one of these will work to a certain degree depending on your personal situation. Some things will show major improvements, other ones may be minor. We're hoping the synergistic effect works, meaning you take all the little pieces, put them together, use them, and you have a greater energy. This is called synergy, something I'm a big fan of and find works well. It's hard to find any one thing that solves all your problems, but generally you can gather a whole bunch of tools together, a whole bunch of treatments together, and then when you put them all together and use them consistently, it adds up into one giant successful energetic field that you've created, which means stopping these attacks or lessening them to at least a semi-livable reality. So with that, we'll end here in part 2 of the biological effects. Stand by for more of these instructional audio lectures coming. And of course, if anyone has anything to report, knows any ways of assisting, or has used some tools that help them, well, make sure you contact me so I can pass it on to others. This is very important. If you found something that works or have more information in this area, well, I'm here to distribute it and to get it to others in need. So we need to put this together, everyone. There's a lot of complainers out there, a lot of people who talk about the trauma they're going through. What are you doing about it? And if you have done something, have you gotten positive results from it? Have you tried things that didn't work? So communicate with me, get this going, and help other people. It's about time this entire area was taken more seriously and people weren't just labeled mental cases. Because that's what people do. But I've through the years, and I've been doing this now for over 40 years, I have consistently ran into people with serious problems like this, and there's never been much to help them. This is what I've given you now is a accumulation of all the things we've tried over the years that have been effective, and there are more that we will be releasing. So as it all goes, people, until next time.